everyone. Welcome back to Williamson Ridge Outdoors. Today, we're actually standing next to a nice size poplar tree here. Again, this is another one that I'm going to be cutting this thing up in order to use it for firewood. I know poplar is not typically the ideal firewood, but it's in an area, as you can see around me, I mow this area. And what I'm trying to do is actually knock back some of the shade so that I can get grass on this. And this is a pretty good slope through here. And I'd like to have grass on it to keep it from washing away and eroding and stuff real bad. It already does that now because it's so shaded that it can't get any sunlight to grow any grass on it or anything like that. So I'm wanting to kind of eliminate some of that and these trees right around the edge of the yard. But what I'm gonna do after I cut this down, you know, here in the next little bit, I don't know, maybe it might be a year before I do it, but I'll have all these trees down and I'll come back through, I'll rent an excavator or something and come through and take all these stumps out, and then of course fill in the holes and everything, and then seed grass and stuff through here and make it nice and even. I can mow this on the sideways with my 0-turn mower, but if there's no grass to mow, then there's no point in it. So we're going to try to get that fixed. I really like having some grass and stuff to mow, but through here too, it's also what little there is. It's so dusty that you can't stand to mow it unless it has rained recently. So hopefully we'll be able to get that fixed. But today, it's not so much about cutting this tree down, but what we're actually going to be using on it. So we got our Milwaukee M18 Fuel chainsaw back, and I have used this a little bit, just kind of testing it and sawing up a few rounds. But today, I'm going to see if I can take this entire tree up to the concrete where we have our wood splitter and everything on one charge, one battery pack. This is the 12 amp hour battery. So I'm going to take the tree down, limb it all up, and then saw it into logs and see if I can get it all moved up there to be cut up for firewood on one charge. I was excited about this saw from the last video because I made a lot of cuts with this saw in the last video, and I really pushed this saw. Like I cranked it way more than what a person should ever try to force a saw into the wood. But I wanted to see if you could, you know, if you could stall it out. And I was having a really hard time of doing that. In fact, I never did actually stall it out. I just felt like I was putting so much pressure on it, that was enough. Like I didn't need to put any more than that on it. So with that being said, we're going to jump in here, cut this tree down, see how it works in real world use. I'm not going to force anything. I'm just going to let the saw do the work. That way we get a real idea of how long the battery will last under normal usage circumstances. So as you can see, right here is the tree. I'm hoping to get it to fall kind of right in the middle of this opening area. It does have a little bit of a lean down the hill. I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be able to overcome that and get it to land pretty much right where we want it. All in all, came off pretty much where I wanted it. I see so many people jump in there and like they'll do their undercut and their notch and stuff and like get it all in just one shot. I don't take down tons and tons of trees, but it seems like I learn a little bit each time that I do it. You know, I tend to have to do more than one cut trying to get my notch, and especially on this tree, because this tree actually was bigger than I thought it was. It was actually more than 16 inches, and so my bar wouldn't reach all the way across the tree. So I had to kind of go into it from one side and then work from the other side, and then realize that I got my notch off a little bit. So then I recut it a little bit and kind of straightened that notch up. I cut it just a little bit low on the hinge point. It needed to be cut up just a little bit more. But all in all, it worked out good. The hinge is nice and even all the way across, but it did tear some fibers, which whenever that happens, you know, if you don't get it cut just right, I mean, that could tend to make the tree either hard to fall, or it could barber chair if you're not careful with that. So that's why that whenever you cut it, you tend to want to kind of look at your splinters and stuff and see how that actually came off of there. And if you was putting a ton of stress on those wood fibers as it was going over, because that's an indication then that you could split that tree and cause problems. This didn't quite have enough meat on it to have to worry about that. But in other situations where you might have a real hard leaner, that might come into play. So again, though, I'm not a professional. This is just kind of my opinions and things that I've learned, you know, over time of doing this over the last few years. So anyways, with that being said, let's get into this and see how much of this tree we can get cut up on this one battery pack. So far, I've been super impressed with this saw. Stay tuned though too, because we're going to have some comparisons between some other battery saws. Actually, the only other battery saws that I have, which are the 40 volt and the 80 volt Atlas battery chainsaws. So we're definitely going to put them into some head-to-head challenges. One thing I will say about it though, that saw is heavy. So if weight might be an issue for you, you might want to consider that. It actually weighs more than my Stihl MS-170 gas chainsaw. That thing actually will kind of wear you out. But what it don't do is you don't have to set it down and let it sit there and idle while you're moving tree limbs and stuff out of the way. But once you set it down, you don't have to restart it. You can just set it down, it's quiet, it's not running, it's not using gas. And then whenever you get your limbs cleared out of the way, you just come back to it, you pick it up, you pull the trigger, and you're started again. You don't have to crank your rope or anything, or leave the saw sitting there idling. So anyways, I'm gonna go get the tractor. I've got pretty much all the treetop cut loose, so I'm gonna come through here and just scrape up all these tree limbs and everything with my grapple, move that stuff out of the way, and then I'll start working back and then taking these logs out of here and taking them up to the concrete where the wood splitter's at. So I'm gonna go through and cut off all these smaller limbs and just toss them back here in the grapple. And then as I clear these out of the way, then I'll come back and the brush that's laying on the ground, I just push it right over the hill, move it, and I'll keep working my way back to the biggest part of the log. And in case anybody's wondering, the battery on here actually still shows that it's got 3 bars of life left in it. So we're gonna keep at it and see how far we make it. This is a really nice section. It's really good and straight. I'm not 100% sure if I'll use this for firewood, but I don't have any other means right now anyways though, so as far as sawmill or anything like that. But man, from this point right here, it's super straight and it's like 16 to 18 inches or so. So it's a really nice log. I wanted to show you this thing running through a log this size and what it actually is capable of. And I'm still on the same charge too. Like all this sawing and cutting that I've done has been on this same charge.